Imagine spending months planning the perfect Thanksgiving dinner for 30 family members, cooking for days, setting the table with your grandmother's china, only to use that moment to reveal that your husband has been sleeping with your own mother for over a year. This is the true story of how Jessica Torres discovered the most unthinkable betrayal, how she found evidence hidden in places that made her physically sick, and why she waited until everyone was gathered around the turkey to expose a secret that had been destroying her family from the inside. What happened in those 15 minutes didn't just end a marriage, it revealed lies that went back years and involved people Jessica never suspected. Jessica Torres was 31 years old when she found the photos on her husband's laptop. She wasn't snooping, not intentionally. Ryan had asked her to email a document from his computer while he was at work, something about a client proposal he needed sent urgently. Jessica had logged in, opened his email, and that's when she saw the folder. It was labeled RT Personal, and it was sitting right there on his desktop. Something about it felt wrong. Ryan was a sales manager, meticulous about organization. He wouldn't normally leave personal files mixed with work documents. Jessica's finger hovered over the mousepad. She could close the email program, send Ryan's document, and never look. That would be the trusting wife thing to do. Instead, she opened the folder. The first photo made her stomach drop. It was her mother, Diana, wearing lingerie Jessica had never seen before. The photo was taken in what looked like a hotel room, definitely not her mother's house. Diana was 53, but she looked good for her age. She had always been vain about her appearance, always dressed younger than her years. Jessica clicked to the next photo with shaking hands. This one showed Ryan and Diana together. Ryan's arm was around Diana's waist. They were both smiling at the camera like a couple on vacation. The next photo was worse, and the one after that was even worse. Jessica scrolled through 47 photos documenting her husband's relationship with her mother. Hotel rooms, restaurants, what looked like a weekend trip to wine country. In several photos, they were kissing. In others, they were in bed together. The most recent photo was dated 3 weeks ago. Jessica ran to the bathroom and threw up. When she came back to the computer, she forced herself to look more carefully. She checked the dates on all the photos. The oldest was from 14 months ago, over a year. Her husband had been sleeping with her mother for over a year. Jessica sat at Ryan's desk and tried to understand how this was possible. She thought about the past year, trying to remember signs she'd missed. Had there been signs? Ryan traveled for work frequently, 3 or 4 days a month, visiting clients in other cities. Jessica had never questioned it. That was his job. He'd been doing it for the entire 7 years they'd been married. Diana lived 40 minutes away in the house where Jessica had grown up after Jessica's father died when Jessica was 16. Diana had never remarried, claimed she'd never found anyone who measured up to Jessica's father. She'd dated occasionally, but nothing serious. Or so she'd told Jessica. Jessica and Diana talked on the phone several times a week. Diana came to Sunday dinners at Jessica and Ryan's house at least twice a month. They went shopping together. They were closer Jessica had thought they were close. How long had Diana been lying to her face? Jessica copied all the photos to a USB drive, then spent the next 2 hours going through Ryan's entire computer. She found text messages he'd backed up to his hard drive. Hundreds of them, going back over a year. "I can't stop thinking about last night. You're incredible." "Jessica's working late again. Come over? I love you. I know we can't say it in front of anyone, but I need you to know." That last message was from Ryan to Diana, sent 6 months ago. Jessica also found credit card statements Ryan had been hiding, charges for hotels, expensive dinners, jewelry, a charge for a weekend rental house in Napa Valley. The same weekend Ryan had told Jessica he was at a sales conference in Sacramento. The same weekend Diana had told Jessica she was visiting her sister in Oregon. They'd coordinated their lies. They'd planned their affair around Jessica's schedule. They'd made her the fool. Jessica heard the front door open. Ryan was home. She closed all the windows on the computer and stood up, her heart pounding. Ryan walked into the home office with his briefcase, smiling at her. "Hey, babe, did you send that email for me?" Jessica looked at her husband. Ryan was 34, handsome in a conventional way. Dark hair, athletic build. the kind of smile that made clients trust him. She'd fallen in love with him 9 years ago when they'd met at a friend's party. He'd been charming, attentive, ambitious, everything she'd wanted. Now she couldn't stand to look at him. "I sent it," Jessica said, her voice surprisingly steady. "Thanks, you're a lifesaver." He kissed her cheek. "What's for dinner?" Jessica had planned to make lasagna. Now, the thought of cooking for Ryan, of sitting across a table from him and pretending everything was normal, made her want to scream. "I'm not feeling well," Jessica said. "Can we just order something?" "Sure, no problem." Ryan was already looking at his phone. "Pizza okay?" "Fine." That night, Jessica lay in bed next to Ryan and felt like she was sleeping next to a stranger. He fell asleep within minutes like he always did, completely at peace, while Jessica stared at the ceiling and tried to figure out what to do. She couldn't confront him, not yet. She needed time to think, to plan, and she needed to know more. How deep did this betrayal go? Who else knew? How many lies had she been living with? The next morning, Jessica called in sick to work. She was a graphic designer who worked from home most days anyway, so it was easy. Ryan left for the office at 8, and Jessica immediately started investigating. She drove to her mother's house. Diana's car was in the driveway, so Jessica knew she was home. Jessica still had a key. She'd had a key since she was 16 years old. She let herself in quietly. "Mom?" she called out. No answer. Diana was probably in the garden. She spent every morning tending to her roses. Jessica went upstairs to her mother's bedroom. She felt sick doing this, invading her mother's privacy, but she needed to know the truth. Diana's bedroom looked the same as always, tastefully decorated, everything neat and organized. Jessica checked the obvious places first: the nightstand drawers, the dresser, the closet. In the back of Diana's closet, behind a stack of sweaters, Jessica found a shoebox. Inside were more photo-sprinted copies, like Diana wanted physical proof of her relationship with Ryan. There were also cards, birthday cards, Valentine's cards, anniversary cards. Anniversary cards. Jessica opened one. It was dated 6 months ago. "To my love on our 1-year anniversary. Here's to many more." R. They'd been celebrating anniversaries like they were a real couple. Jessica also found a burner phone in the shoebox. She turned it on. Diana hadn't even bothered to password protect it. The phone contained months of text messages between Diana and Ryan. Messages that were intimate, loving, sexual. Messages that talked about their future. One message from Diana to Ryan, sent 2 months ago. Jessica mentioned Thanksgiving again. "Are you sure we can keep this up through the holidays? It's getting harder to pretend." Ryan's response: "We've made it this far, just a few more months until I can ask for the divorce. Then we can be together openly." Jessica felt the room spin. Ryan was planning to divorce her. He'd already been planning it 2 months ago, probably longer, and he was going to leave her for her own mother. She heard the back door open. Diana's voice called out, "Jessica, is that you? I saw your car outside." Jessica quickly put everything back in the shoebox and shoved it back in the closet. She came out of the bedroom just as Diana reached the top of the stairs. Diana looked surprised to see Jessica coming from her bedroom. "What were you doing in there?" "Looking for that scarf you borrowed," Jessica lied smoothly. "The blue one. I need it for an outfit." Diana relaxed. "Oh, I think it's in the hall closet. Let me look." Jessica followed her mother downstairs, watching her move through the house, chatting about her roses and the weather, and wasn't it nice that Thanksgiving was coming up in a few weeks? Diana's face showed nothing. No guilt, no discomfort. She looked at Jessica with the same love and warmth she'd always shown. How was she this good at lying? "Are you staying for lunch?" Diana asked. "I was going to make a salad." "No, I have to get back to work," Jessica said. "But I'll see you Sunday for dinner, right?" "Wouldn't miss it," Diana said, hugging Jessica. "Love you, sweetie." "Love you too, Mom," Jessica said, and the words tasted like poison. Over the next 2 weeks, Jessica became someone she didn't recognize. She hired a private investigator named Marcus Chen, gave him copies of everything she'd found, and asked him to dig deeper. Marcus worked fast. He followed Ryan and Diana, documented their meetings, tracked their movements. He found hotel room records, restaurant receipts, evidence of weekend trips to the coast. "They're careful," Marcus told Jessica at one of their meetings, "but not careful enough. They've been meeting at least twice a week for over a year, usually at a hotel downtown, sometimes at your mother's house when you're at work. My mother's house, Jessica repeated, the house where she'd grown up, the house where her father had lived before he died. They'd been desecrating that space with their affair. There's more, Marcus said. I did some financial investigation. Your husband has been transferring money from your joint savings account into a separate account. About $2,000 a month for the past 8 months. $16,000 total. Jessica felt cold. He's been stealing from me? Technically, it's a joint account, so it's not illegal. But he's been doing it without telling you. I tracked where the money's going. He's been using it to pay for the hotels, the trips, gifts for your mother. He even bought her a car 6 months ago, a used Mercedes, registered in her name. Jessica remembered that car. Diana had told her it was a gift from a generous friend who was upgrading vehicles. Jessica had believed her. I want to know everything, Jessica told Marcus. I don't care how long it takes or how much it costs. I need to know exactly what they've been doing. Marcus spent another week investigating. What he found was worse than Jessica could have imagined. The affair had started at a family barbecue 18 months ago. Ryan had gotten drunk and Diana had driven him home. According to text messages Marcus had recovered, they'd kissed that night. Both claimed it was a mistake, that it would never happen again. But 2 weeks later, they'd met for coffee to talk about what happened. The coffee became lunch. The lunch became a hotel room. And suddenly, they were having an affair. The messages showed they'd both felt guilty at first, but the guilt faded quickly as the relationship deepened. Within 3 months, they were telling each other they were in love. Ryan had been planning to leave Jessica for almost a year. He'd just been waiting for the right time, which apparently meant after the holidays, after he'd secured a promotion at work, after he'd moved enough money out of the joint accounts. Diana's messages revealed something even more disturbing. She'd been jealous of Jessica for years, jealous of Jessica's marriage, her career success, her happiness. In one message to Ryan, Diana wrote, I gave up my whole life to raise her after her father died. I gave up chances at relationships, at my own happiness. And she got everything: the perfect husband, the perfect career, the perfect life. For once, I wanted something for myself. So Diana had taken Jessica's husband as payback for Jessica having a good life. Jessica showed all of this to her divorce attorney, a sharp woman named Linda Ramirez who'd been recommended by a friend. Linda reviewed everything with a grim expression. This is one of the worst cases of betrayal I've seen, Linda said. And I've seen a lot. The affair, the financial misconduct, the premeditation, it's all documented. You'll get everything in the divorce. I don't just want a divorce, Jessica said quietly. I want them to face consequences, both of them. I want everyone to know what they did. Linda raised an eyebrow. What do you have in mind? Jessica explained her plan. Linda was quiet for a moment, then smiled. It's bold, maybe too bold. But if you're determined, I'll make sure everything is legally protected. Thanksgiving was in 3 weeks. Jessica had been planning to host dinner at her house like she did every year. 30 people, extended family, a few close friends, a tradition she'd maintained since she and Ryan had bought their house 5 years ago. This year, Thanksgiving was going to be memorable for different reasons. Jessica spent the next 3 weeks preparing. She coordinated with Linda to have divorce papers ready to serve. She arranged for Marcus to attend the dinner as a supposed friend of a friend, carrying a briefcase with all the evidence documented and organized. She also did something else. She hired a tech person to set up hidden cameras in her dining room and living room. The footage would stream live to Jessica's laptop and record everything. Why do you need it recorded? The tech asked. Family memories, Jessica lied. I want to capture Thanksgiving dinner. Ryan and Diana had no idea what was coming. They continued their affair, continued lying to Jessica's face. Diana came to Sunday dinner 3 times in those 3 weeks, sitting across from Jessica and Ryan, chatting about holiday plans. I'm so looking forward to Thanksgiving at your place, Diana said during one dinner. You always make it so special, Jessica. Jessica smiled. This year's going to be especially memorable. Ryan squeezed Jessica's hand. My wife goes all out for the holidays. It's one of the things I love about her. Jessica looked at him and felt nothing. The love she'd felt for 7 Years had died the moment she'd seen those photos. Now, there was just cold determination. The weekend before Thanksgiving, Jessica did all her grocery shopping and cooking prep. She made pies, prepared side dishes, organized her grandmother's china that she used for special occasions. Everything had to be perfect. Ryan helped, completely oblivious. "This is going to be great," he said Thursday morning as he helped set up extra chairs. "I love when the whole family gets together." "Me too," Jessica said. "Family is everything." The first guests arrived at 1 o'clock. Jessica's Aunt Maria and Uncle Carlos with their 3 kids, Jessica's cousin Sophie with her new boyfriend, friends from the neighborhood. People trickled in over the next hour, filling the house with conversation and laughter. Diana arrived at 2, carrying a store-bought pie. She hugged Jessica warmly. "Let me help you in the kitchen, sweetie." "That's okay, Mom. I've got it under control. You just relax and enjoy yourself." Ryan was playing host, making drinks, telling stories, charming everyone like he always did. He and Diana barely looked at each other in front of the guests. They'd had over a year to practice pretending. By 3 o'clock, all 30 guests had arrived. Jessica called everyone to the table. She'd set up the dining room table and 2 additional tables in the living room to accommodate everyone. The tables looked beautiful. White tablecloths, her grandmother's china, candles, fall decorations. Jessica had spent hours making everything perfect. Ryan carved the turkey while Jessica brought out side dishes. Mashed potatoes, stuffing, green bean casserole, roasted vegetables, cranberry sauce. Everything looked delicious. Once everyone was seated and plates were full, Jessica stood up with her wine glass. "Before we start eating, I want to say something." The room quieted down. 30 faces turned to Jessica expectantly. "Thanksgiving is about gratitude," Jessica began, her voice steady. "About being thankful for the people in our lives, for family, for love, for trust." She paused. "I'm thankful to have all of you here today, because you're about to witness something important." Ryan was frowning slightly, probably wondering where this was going. Diana looked curious but not concerned. "I'm thankful for truth," Jessica continued, "even when truth is painful, even when it destroys everything you thought you knew." She pulled out her phone and connected it to the TV screen on the wall. She'd set this up earlier, telling Ryan she wanted to show a slideshow of family photos during dinner. Instead, photos of Ryan and Diana appeared on the screen. Photos from Ryan's laptop, hotel rooms, intimate moments, undeniable evidence of their affair. The reaction was immediate. Gasps, shocked exclamations. Someone dropped a wine glass. Ryan jumped up, his face going white. Diana stood too, her hand over her mouth. "What the hell, Jessica?" Ryan shouted. "Sit down," Jessica said calmly. "Everyone needs to see this." More photos cycled through, timestamps showing the progression of the affair over 14 months. Text messages appeared next, blown up large enough for everyone to read. "I love you, Diana. I can't wait until we can be together openly." Jessica's so naive, she has no idea. "One more year and I'll have moved enough money out of our accounts. Then I can file for divorce and we can start our life together." Jessica's Aunt Maria was staring at Diana in horror. "Diana, tell me this isn't real." Diana tried to speak, but no words came out. Jessica continued, her voice cutting through the chaos. "My husband Ryan and my mother Diana have been having an affair for 14 months. They've been meeting at hotels twice a week. They've taken romantic trips together. Ryan's been stealing money from our joint savings account to pay for their affair, $16,000 so far." She pulled up financial documents showing the transfers, the hotel charges, the receipts for jewelry and gifts. "They've been planning their future together," Jessica said. "Ryan was going to ask me for a divorce after the holidays. Then he and my mother were going to move in together. They've already been looking at houses." More evidence appeared on the screen searches for real estate listings, text messages discussing which neighborhoods they liked. The dining room was in complete chaos now. Jessica's Uncle Carlos had stood up and was approaching Ryan with his fists clenched. "You son of a—" "Carlos, don't," Jessica said quickly. "He's not worth it." She looked at her mother. Diana was crying, mascara running down her face. "Jessica, please, I can explain." "Explain what?" Jessica asked coldly. "Explain how you decided to sleep with my husband? Explain how you betrayed your own daughter?" It wasn't like that, Diana sobbed. We fell in love. We didn't mean for it to happen. You didn't mean for it to happen for 14 months. Jessica's voice rose. You didn't mean to meet him at hotels twice a week. You didn't mean to accept expensive gifts bought with my money. You didn't mean to plan a future with my husband. She pulled out printed copies of some of the worst text messages and started reading them aloud. I've been jealous of Jessica for years. She got everything: the perfect life, the perfect husband. For once, I wanted something for myself. That's from you, Mom. You stole my husband because you were jealous of my life. Diana collapsed back into her chair, sobbing uncontrollably. Ryan tried a different approach. Jessica, I know you're angry, but we should discuss this privately. Why? Jessica asked. You didn't conduct the affair privately. You brought it into my life, into my mother's house, into every family gathering we've had. For over a year, everyone here has been lied to. They deserve to know the truth. Before we continue, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because what Jessica reveals next about Ryan's other secrets will shock you even more. Jessica pulled up more documents. While investigating the affair, I found other interesting information. Ryan's been telling me he's traveling for work 3 or 4 times a month, but his work only requires travel once a month. The other trips? Those were to visit Diana when she went to visit her sister or attend conferences. She displayed a calendar showing how Ryan's travel dates matched with Diana's out-of-town trips. They coordinated everything, Jessica continued. Every lie was planned. Every betrayal was calculated. She looked around the room at the shocked faces. My mother helped my husband steal from me. She accepted gifts bought with my money. She planned to move into a house that Ryan would have purchased partially with assets from our divorce. Jessica's cousin Sophie stood up. Diana, how could you do this to your own daughter? Diana couldn't answer through her sobs. Ryan tried once more. Jessica, please, we can work this out. Work what out? Jessica asked. The part where you've been lying to me for over a year? The part where you're planning to leave me? The part where you've been stealing our savings? Or the part where you've been sleeping with my mother? She gestured to Marcus, who'd been standing quietly in the corner. He approached with his briefcase and pulled out legal documents. Ryan Bennett, you're being served with divorce papers, Marcus said professionally, handing Ryan a manila envelope. You're also being served with a restraining order preventing you from accessing any joint accounts or joint property. Ryan took the papers with shaking hands. Jessica turned to Diana. I'm not serving you with anything legal, Mom, but I am cutting you out of my life completely. You're dead to me. The mother I loved died the day you decided to betray me. Jessica, no, please. Diana reached for her daughter. Jessica stepped back. Don't touch me. Don't call me. Don't ever try to contact me again. You chose Ryan over your own daughter. Now you can have him, what's left of him, after I'm done with the divorce. She looked around the room at her family and friends. I'm sorry Thanksgiving is ruined. I know this isn't how anyone wanted to spend their holiday. But I needed you all to know the truth. For over a year, everyone in this room has been lied to. You've been around Ryan and Diana, watching them pretend to be normal, never knowing what they were really doing. Jessica's Aunt Maria stood and came to Jessica's side. You did the right thing, honey, exposing them, making sure everyone knows who they really are. Others nodded in agreement. Jessica's Uncle Carlos was still glaring at Ryan. You need to leave, now, before I do something I'll regret. Ryan grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. Diana tried to follow him, but Jessica blocked her path. Different exits, Mom. You came in the front, leave through the back. I don't want you following him like a puppy. Diana stared at her daughter, tears streaming down her face. Jessica, I'm so sorry. I love you. You have to believe that. You don't love me, Jessica said quietly. If you loved me, you would never have done this. Get out of my house. Diana walked toward the back door, her shoulders shaking with sobs. Jessica's Aunt Maria escorted her out, making sure Diana actually left. After they were gone, the house fell silent. 30 people sat at tables surrounded by uneaten Thanksgiving dinner, trying to process what they'd just witnessed. Jessica sat down at the head of the table. Well, she said with a bitter laugh, anyone still hungry? To her surprise, her cousin Sophie raised her hand. Actually, yeah, that turkey looks amazing, and I'm not letting those two ruin Thanksgiving entirely. Others agreed. Slowly, tentatively, people started eating. The conversations were subdued at first, everyone still in shock. But gradually, the atmosphere shifted. Family members approached Jessica one by one, offering support, expressing their outrage at Ryan and Diana's betrayal, promising to stand by Jessica through the divorce. "Your mother always was selfish," Jessica's Aunt Maria said quietly. "Even when you were growing up, everything had to be about her. But I never thought she'd do something like this." Jessica's Uncle Carlos added, "Ryan's career is over. I'll make sure every business contact we have in common knows what he did. He won't work in this city again." The Thanksgiving dinner continued, transformed from a celebration into a rallying of family support around Jessica. It wasn't the holiday anyone had planned, but there was something powerful about it. Everyone united in their support of Jessica, everyone clear about where they stood. The next few weeks were a blur of legal proceedings and social fallout. The video of Jessica's Thanksgiving revelation had been recorded by the hidden cameras, and while Jessica didn't release it publicly, word spread through their social circles. Within days, everyone in their community knew what had happened. Ryan moved out immediately. He tried to call Jessica multiple times, but she never answered. Everything went through their attorneys. Linda, Jessica's attorney, was as ruthless as promised. "Ryan's in a terrible position," she told Jessica. "The financial misconduct, the affair with your mother, the planning to hide assets, it's all documented. He's going to settle quickly because he can't afford to fight." Ryan did settle. He agreed to give Jessica 70% of their joint assets, the house, and he had to repay the $16,000 he'd stolen from their savings. The divorce was finalized in 4 months. Diana tried reaching out multiple times, texts, calls, letters. Jessica ignored all of them. Several family members told Jessica that Diana had been devastated, that she was seeing a therapist, that she kept saying she'd made a terrible mistake. Jessica didn't care. The betrayal was too deep, too calculated. There was no coming back from what Diana had done. The relationship between Diana and Ryan fell apart within 3 months of the Thanksgiving revelation. Apparently, when their affair was no longer secret and exciting, when they actually had to face consequences, the relationship couldn't survive. Ryan's brother told Jessica that Ryan had tried to end things with Diana, claiming he'd been confused and had made a huge mistake. Diana had been furious, had apparently shown up at Ryan's apartment screaming at him for ruining her relationship with her daughter for nothing. They'd destroyed Jessica's family, stolen her money, planned her humiliation, and they hadn't even ended up together. Jessica found the irony satisfying in a dark way. 6 months after Thanksgiving, Jessica was doing better than she'd expected. She'd thrown herself into her graphic design work, taking on bigger clients and projects. She'd started going to therapy, working through the betrayal, and rebuilding her sense of self. She'd also become closer to the family members who'd supported her. Her Aunt Maria checked on her regularly. Her cousin Sophie invited her to girls' nights and weekend trips. The family had rallied around Jessica in a way that helped heal some of the wounds. One evening, Jessica's Aunt Maria asked her, "Do you regret how you did it, exposing them at Thanksgiving in front of everyone?" Jessica thought about it. "No," she said finally. "They had their affair in secret, making me look like a fool for over a year. They planned their future while lying to my face at family gatherings. The Thanksgiving revelation made sure everyone understood exactly what they'd done. No whispered gossip, no he said, she said. Just the truth, all at once, with witnesses." "It took guts," Maria said. "And it worked. Everyone knows who to blame. You don't have to defend yourself or explain anything. The evidence speaks for itself." 1 year after the Thanksgiving revelation, Jessica hosted Thanksgiving dinner again. Smaller this time, just 15 people, the family members she was closest to. Diana wasn't invited, obviously. Neither was anyone who'd tried to stay neutral or suggested Jessica should forgive her mother. Before they ate, Jessica raised her glass. "Last year, this day was painful, but it was also necessary. It was the day I took back control of my life, made sure the truth came out, and started rebuilding." She looked around at the faces of the people who'd stood by her. "I'm thankful for all of you, for your support, your love, your willingness to stand with me when everything fell apart. You're my real family. Everyone raised their glasses. "To family," Jessica said. "The ones we choose, not the ones who betray us." "To family," everyone echoed. They ate dinner, shared stories, laughed together. It was healing in a way Jessica hadn't expected. The ghost of last year's Thanksgiving was there, but it didn't hurt anymore. It was just part of her story, the painful chapter that led to a better one. 2 years after the revelation, Jessica heard through her cousin that Diana had moved to another state. Couldn't handle staying in the city where everyone knew what she'd done, apparently. Jessica felt nothing hearing this news. Diana had made her choices. Now she was living with them. Ryan had also moved, taking a job in another city where his reputation hadn't followed him. Jessica heard he was dating someone new, someone closer to his age this time. Jessica wished him well in a distant, detached way. The anger had faded, leaving only indifference. Ryan was just someone she used to know, a chapter of her life that was closed. 3 years after that Thanksgiving, Jessica met someone new. His name was David, a teacher who'd been divorced for 5 years and had 2 kids. He was kind, patient, honest, everything Ryan hadn't been. On their 4th date, Jessica told him the whole story, the affair, the betrayal, the Thanksgiving revelation. David was quiet for a long moment after she finished. Then he said, "That must have been incredibly hard, both the betrayal and deciding to expose it so publicly." "Do you think I was wrong?" Jessica asked. "Some people thought I was too harsh." "I think you did what you needed to do," David said thoughtfully. "They took away your ability to make informed choices about your life. You took it back the only way you could by making sure everyone knew the truth." Jessica realized she was falling for him right then. 5 years after the Thanksgiving revelation, Jessica was truly happy. She and David were engaged. Her graphic design business was thriving. She had a close-knit group of family and friends who loved and supported her. She occasionally thought about that Thanksgiving, the planning, the revelation, the chaos that followed. It had been the hardest thing she'd ever done, exposing her husband and mother in front of 30 people. But it had also been necessary. The affair had been happening in secret, with Jessica as the unknowing victim. The public revelation had shifted the power dynamic, made sure everyone understood what had been done to her, ensured that Ryan and Diana couldn't control the narrative or play the victims. Some people still talked about it. Remember that Thanksgiving when Jessica exposed her husband and mother? It had become local legend. Jessica didn't mind. Let them talk. She'd lived through worse than gossip. The Thanksgiving revelation had been one moment, one explosive confrontation that changed everything. But it had led to this, a life built on honesty, surrounded by people who truly loved her, free from the weight of other people's lies. Jessica had made sure justice was served, and in doing so, she'd given herself the gift of truth and freedom. That was worth everything.